Am popeth am nes i. Rwy'n hiraethu am adrau, rwy'n dy eisiau yn ôl. Rwy'n hiraethu am adrau, rwy'n eisiau dy ôl.
And one of the reasons Sarah asked me to do this particular Sunday was because it is Halloween. Well, commercial Halloween, right? And she wanted me to explain what it is. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard the fear-mongering or seen the fear-mongering about Halloween that's been going around Facebook. You know, there's lots of, like Sarah's had people ring her up and say they're not coming tonight because we're going to discuss that evil Halloween. Right?
Satanic.
Yeah. So obviously they don't know what Halloween is, and it's right, it's laughable. But a lot of people don't understand what Halloween is about, what it's for, because it is originally a traditional celebration that goes all the way back to our roots, and it's in every culture on the planet. A lot of people see this Halloween as being a commercialised American thing, which it has become. But hey, most of our celebrations become commercialised. They'll try and make a buck out of anything, right? But what Halloween, right, or Samhain is what it's called in the Celtic traditions of England and Western Europe, it's called Samhain. And what this celebration is about is it's about you, right? And a lot of people forget that. It's not about anything evil, it's about anything that's no more evil than what you are yourself, right? Because it is a total celebration of who and what you are. So how can kids running around dressed up as ghosties and goblins getting candy be about you? So let's just have a quick look at what these traditional celebrations are, and then you might understand a little bit better what it's about. So we have Samhain in Western Europe, but like David has, at the moment, he's got a Mexican mask on, and we've all seen the sugar skulls and the Disney cartoons about the Day of the Dead in Mexico, right, which is a very similar celebration. In Asia, we have the Hungry Ghost festivals. Right? We have similar traditions with our Indigenous here in Australia and most Indigenous traditions. And what it is a day and a time of the year where it's easiest to remember your ancestors. Right? In Samhain, because at this time of the year, it's what we call a cross-quarter day. So we have an equinox and a solstice. If we can imagine our calendar not as a straight lineal thing, you know, we're taught at school that time is lineal. Right? Indigenous traditions teach that time is circular, elliptical. Right? It joins up to itself again. And in the middle of this circle, we have the solstices, which are days where the time is, we have an equal amount of daylight. Sorry, equinoxes where we have an equal amount of daylight and night. And the solstices, where, of course, that changes, and we have the longest day and the shortest night, or the shortest day and the longest night in between those. So that's your main, what they call the cardinal cross on the wheel of the year. Now imagine another cross that goes across there. And that's where we have, so we have 4 celebrations on a traditional calendar for those with Indigenous cultures, because they're turning points in the year and they celebrate that. It's their way of marking it. But these cross-quarter days, if you imagine another cross that goes across there, they are the days of most magic, right? Why do they believe that? But if you took a pendulum, right, and you swing it right out to 1, it's got the least amount of force when it gets out as far as possible. Right? Simple physics says that if you're swinging something backwards and forwards, halfway in the swing is where it has the most force before it starts to turn around and go back in the other direction. So these cross-quarter days are the time of maximum force. Right? So, you know, opposite our Samhain, we have on our Irish, Celtic, Western European celebration a time called Beltane, right? Which is the start of spring, which technically in the southern hemisphere, we should be celebrating Beltane right now, which is, so we've turned from winter, right? And the pendulum's coming here and we're getting that force of summer coming through. So this is where the flowers start growing and, you know, spring is springing and all this, although it doesn't feel much like it today, it's a little bit chilly. Right? But this is our Beltane at the moment. So it should be our fire celebrations. In Europe, they have big bonfires and they jump over the bonfires and things like that. That's our Beltane celebrations. In the northern hemisphere, of course, we have the opposite because seasons are reversed from northern to southern hemisphere. So while we're having spring here, they're having autumn in the northern hemisphere. We understand that, don't we? Yeah. So what they're having, their cross-quarter day is the beginning where they're losing the warmth of the year and it starts to get chilly, right? And they're moving into winter. So at this point where this energy starts to turn and you have the greatest momentum, we have a polarity between life and death. Anybody who does a spiritual work realizes that life and death are not opposites of each other. Right? You know, we are all here because we know that there is life after life. Right? And we connect with that. Right? And this cross-quarter day makes us aware of the energy between maximum life and, of course, the onset of the decline of life. Right? So what this celebration means, like in Western European, we're going to sort of stick with Western European because most of us are from those roots and we understand it. When I go, before lockdown, when I was over in Singapore and Malaysia and Hong Kong where I go and do these sort of lectures, I talk about their Day of the Dead, which is their Hungry Ghost Festival. And they get it because it's very much part of their culture. So this time is, according to the traditions, is the time where the veil between life and death is the thinnest. One is turning into the other, even though they're really the same thing. You can't have life without death, you can't have death without life. I used to keep fish, you know, I used to have fish in tanks before I left the Gold Coast and came back to it again. And I used to have marine fish tanks that were huge. They were 4 foot tall, 4 foot long, and then hill-shaped, you know, another 3 foot the other direction. So I had these huge tanks, and the very first time I set one up, I went down, pumped fresh seawater out of the ocean, filled my tank up with it, put all my fish in it, and they died, and they're very expensive. I ran up to the fish shop and said, "What is wrong?" And he said, "Oh, didn't you put sacrificial fish in first? Because what has to happen if there is no death in that tank, right? The nitrate levels haven't risen up, you haven't got the correct bacteria in, and if no death has happened in that tank, then it will not be able to sustain the life for the fish because it hasn't got the correct bacteria and the nitrate level and all that sort of stuff in there." So if it wasn't for those deaths, you know, and it's a time for us to think about what we eat, you know, not just, you know, if we're not vegetarians and we eat meat and things like that, because everything we eat gives us life. But ultimately and directly, what has given us our life here right now? It's our ancestors, right? So it is a celebration of every life that has given its life so that we stand here right now and we honour and celebrate them. Because if our great-grandfather married somebody else, we wouldn't be related, and would we even be born? You know, we've only got to change one thing and we wouldn't be here. If there wasn't a war, if somebody didn't meet somebody and fall in love. And all of this wisdom, all of this knowledge, all of this love of these people coming together has created who and what we are now. But just for a minute, try and imagine all of the generations pieces back as far as you can think, right, that have brought you here. Now, if you believe in evolution or evolutionary creation, maybe those generations weren't necessarily always human. Maybe they go back to different species. I've certainly met women I believe are very much part dragon, that's another thing. And you go back and you have a look at these, what characteristics you bring back from other life forms as well. You can go all the way back to amoeba, all the way back to original source. Right? In order for us to live, God, whatever you see God has or Goddess has, they gave a piece of their life to generate life here. Right? If there wasn't nutrients in the soil, like compost is decomposing, that's what it means, matter. Right? And plants can't live without compost. Animals can't live without plants, and we can't live without generally being an omnivore and consuming life from lots of different sources. All of these, everything that is directly related to us, right? Either through birth, through ancestry, or through it giving its life so that we can live. It is an awareness that all of those lives are standing here right now where we are. We bring their life forward. Their life, even though it appears to the unawakened people that they died, right? We are an embodiment of that life force energy. It is the natural cycle that they progenerate more life. And eventually, like we're looking after my husband's parents at the moment, and we can see them shrinking and getting smaller. Right? And even they call themselves the kids now, because we're feeding them, taking them out, looking after them. They're asking us for money to do things. And it's been completely reversed. They are going back to being children, going back to being babies while they're still alive, getting ready for their next incarnation. Right? And watching this happen in front of us makes us very aware of this. But Ken's father has Alzheimer's, and he still talks to his uncle and his grandfather, like they're right there with him. And that's how we know he's getting close to passing through that doorway. But if Robert passes over, he won't be gone, because Ken's still there, and we have Robert through Ken. And Robert will be, and part of his life will still be alive, right? And that energy will still be around him. But part of his life lives on through Ken as well. Right? And this is a very sacred and a very holy concept. This is why Indigenous traditions celebrate this time of the year, right? Because it's about who you are right now, and every life, everything that's brought you here. So the people that live in fear and go, oh, it's satanic, are obviously really afraid of who and what they are themselves, right? They don't want to look back at what it has cost them to be here. Life costs. Everything in this world is a result of action, reaction, and cost. And it costs us to be here, and I'm not talking about monetary, even though we can relate to monetary things, but there is a cost to life to being here. And this is where we honour what it has cost all of our ancestors back as the dawn of time, what's cost them so that we can stand here right now. And once we realise that we've got this infinite legacy behind us, it makes you go, well, I better live up to what they expect of me, right? And you see this respect especially in Asian cultures, where they will build like little model houses and leave these big feasts out in the street for all of their ancestors that have gone before, because they honour them so much. We hear them, we hear of Asians speaking about how much they honour their ancestors, and they all, just about every house has an ancestor altar in it, right? And you get written up once you get married. Not before you're married. Once you're married, you get written up on the altar and you become an ancestor because you're about to progenerate somebody else. Right? And there is that huge weight of responsibility. Are we living up to what our ancestors led us to? And if our ancestors were bits of people that you weren't proud of, then what can we do to shift that legacy and make it a better legacy? It takes the idea of karma to a different level because action, reaction and cost, you know. Are we going to just play out that energy that they've given us? And if you have a look at all of the dysfunctional parent-child relationships we have at the moment, one funny thing that if you do readings with people who have passed over, if you do mediumship, you'll often see that the child is their parent the parent comes back as the child of the next generation or comes back within that family. And if there has been a murder, usually to work out that energy between them, that person will have to come back as the child of the person who murdered them. Right? So this is why you get these relationships where the kid stands up and goes, I hate you, I want to kill you, and they yell the same way. Right? And you get these very angry relationships and they have to work that out with a different dynamic. Right? The universe makes sure that you do. It's been very interesting back in our history. We've got a couple of Catholic saints. We've got a person that started an inquisition, you know. And what have they done? They've got a spiritualist, a witch in the family now. And all of their efforts to wipe out all of this heresy. Heresy, how can they believe things that the church does not approve of? Has only resulted in bringing forward in their line somebody who's going to make up for all of that damage they did. Right, and there will be many more right after me as well. So, yeah. So what I'd like you to do, so you all get that concept. I don't want to labour the point, but you've got that concept. It's a simple concept once you get it. This is what Halloween is. It's hallowed. And it's not hollow as in there's nothing there. It's hallowed. It's a very sacred time. So what I'd like to do is just take you through a really brief meditation if you've got this. Alright, so let's just have a look at what we can get from having a look back at our own ancestral line. So just drop yourself down into a nice relaxed place where you're sitting, with your feet flat on the floor. Keep yourself open, uncrossed and receptive if you can. And what I want you to do is just get very, very relaxed. Allow yourself to sink deeper into that relaxation. If it's been a busy week like I've had, then just think of your little toe, because if you can relax your little toe, you can relax everything. So just allow your little toe to relax and just feel as that little toe relaxes, that puddle of relaxation start to spread through your other toes, up through your foot to your ankle, through your ankle to your knees, through your knees to your pelvis, from your pelvis through to your spine. And as it goes up your spine, not only are your vertebrae relaxing, but all of your internal organs in your body, your digestive organs, stomach, kidneys, liver, spleen, all relax, lungs relax, diaphragm relaxes, heart slows down to a nice steady pace. And with that you feel the throat open, the shoulders drop, the arms relax, the hands can sit still, busy hands, nothing to do right now, let them relax. And you feel your neck relaxing, and you feel that spread upwards through your face, all the muscles in your face relax, your hair even relaxes, your eyes relax into the skull. And from this point of perfect relaxation, I want you to imagine yourself on the spiritual planes where you can see every life that's ever been. Echoes and mirrors within mirrors, extending back infinitely behind you. Turn and look behind you. and see your ancestors stretching back as far as you can. Now imagine yourself lifting up and floating above this line of ancestors. And you feel a call coming to you as you float above them. It can be close to you or very far away. It doesn't matter. Wherever you need to go to answer that call, you can go there instantly. This is the time, this is the perfect time when the veil is thin to have this communication. Someone has been trying to get a message to you. Go to them. Go to where that call is. Look deeply into their eyes. And just go, what do you need to tell me? I'm ready to listen. And open yourself to the message that they're going to give you. Just take a couple of minutes to absorb that message. You can ask them a question too. Take your time. Look deeply into their eyes and say, show me my purpose. Why am I here? Out of all of the people that could have been, that should have been, or would have been, why have all of my ancestors brought me to here right now? What are you hoping that I will achieve? And one final thing. Once you get what it is that you're supposed to achieve, looking forward and backwards along that line, just cast a request out to all of them and say, can I have your support to do this? I will try to do this, but I need your support. Can I please have an assurance that you are here with me right now? Breathe in the knowledge of the answer to those three questions. Breathe it in and soak it down deep inside of you. This is the meaning of Halloween. And with this breath, and with this knowledge anchored within you, return your breathing to normal. Return your awareness to the room. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. If you're not back in the room with us, raise your hand. Good, you're all back. So what is traditional in Indigenous cultures on this night is that in honour of all of the stuff that you just felt and experienced, is that when you have your evening meal, and it's not too late to go and do this at home, is that you simply set a place at the dinner table for them, that you prepare a meal. It's called the dumb supper. Right? And you just offer a meal to honour the life. Right? That you're still nurturing all of their intentions, all of their life force energy that they've poured into you. Right? In return for being here right now. Being the sum total of all of their lives, all of their expectations, all of their hard work. You are an amazing creation, all of those infinite number of people. And I hope that tonight, because it does feel a little bit like an autumn night tonight, tonight does bring this awareness to you of just how very special you are to be here right now. Thank you very much. If you have enjoyed this video and you like the idea of making magic readily available to people in their lives for free, then perhaps you may consider supporting my work by a one-time donation or becoming a member of our Patreon community. Your support will make it possible for me to do more of this work and get that knowledge out to the public. Our Patreon members have a unique community where they can share their knowledge and wisdom, but also we will have exclusive content over there for you as well. But if you're even considering supporting us, you have my deepest and sincerest thanks. Every blessing to you.
And her name was Maleficent.
Oh, come on, that's funny.